Hey everybody, episode 94. I am in Fort Wayne, Indiana again, and this is the same hotel I stayed at. I did a podcast at a few weeks ago, back in March. And I sent this picture on my social media from the shower curtain being covered in mold. So I tried this hotel again because it's super close to where I'm going in the morning. I'm here for a pickleball certification. And so it's just a couple minutes away. It's nice. So I get to my room, get in the shower, and I got a shower curtain with mold on it. So I'm going to have to take care of that again. Last time they gave me a bunch of free points on my Marriott account. So that'll be exciting and kind of gross. I also got here, and I'll get to my drive in a minute, but I took a walk in this trails I found, and I got my first tick I've ever had. Luckily, I found it when I was taking my shoes off, and it was in my leg, and I was able to get it out and kill it. But that was a little freaky. Glad I caught it because I hear those aren't good for you. So I got that out of my way. So anyway, like I said, I'm here for a pickleball certification at the Fort Wayne Country Club, my second time here, and it's about a 4.5 hour drive from Milwaukee, and it took me 6.5, almost 7. Due to construction, accidents. I even saw a car chase with the car. It was a minivan with a bunch of cops chasing it, flew right by me, and the tire was completely turned the wrong way and dragging on the ground and sparking in flames and weaving in and out. And I ended up having to take an exit, but that was pretty awesome. But I'm really struggling with traffic from where I live, anywhere around Chicago into Indiana into Michigan. It doesn't matter anymore what time of day it is. I left at noon today and got stuck around O'Hare. Construction is crazy. What I can't understand, why don't we have a better system? All of the awesome things our world does with technology and building things, and we still have to deal with this. And the amount of anger and gas and accidents and wear and tear on your cars and all that stuff. How do we not fix it? If you've listened, you know my drone idea that every time there's a crash, we just fly in these drones that pick up the damaged cars and take them to a investigation area and clean up the roads instantly so the traffic's never backed up. That's super logical. Would totally work. But we don't have that. So why can't we build more lanes? Why can't we have double-decker roads? Like we got double layers. You can be on the bottom, the middle, of the top. Maybe it's by speed. Maybe it's by type of car. But I also don't understand why, when there's construction, does everything slow down? Because you all go, let's say it goes from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. It shouldn't completely stop. It should slow down briefly and then full speed on 3 lanes, and I just will never understand it. But when I'm president, we're going to make some serious changes. I do have to give I told my dad, I'd tell everybody, he's got a presidential idea for when he's president, and his is that all flights are nonstop, which I'm on board. He's got my vote. Every flight you take, there's never a stop. You go directly from your airport to wherever you're going, and you're done. So put that on the agenda. There's no reason we can't do that. You just get on a plane and you fly to where you're going. Incredibly easy. Again, logical. So, Dad, I'm with you on that. A quick weight update because it's been a while. I am now down about 12 pounds. Still doing pretty good on my sugar, my calories. Feel better. It's not fun. I have had some bites of things that I completely got rid of. I brought back some things, but still doing pretty good. I'm about 171.2. My goal is to get under 170, which I have not been in many, many years. And once I do that, I'm going to go back up and see if I can get even higher, because that's what I do. I'm a fluctuator. I was at 187 before, no, 186-ish before I started losing and went to the doctor. So I think I can get to 190. this winter, and then I can bring it back down. And that's going to be my path. But I have this new goal because I have some serious OCD when it comes to challenges and projects. And um, I have this goal of averaging 20,000 steps a day for 2025. They say that 10,000 is a really good day for most people. I get 10,000 by noon every day. So I started thinking I can add a few more and try to be at the end of the year, December 31st at midnight. My average for the year is 20,000 or more. I am currently at 19,441. I have 19 straight days is over 20,000. It's all walking. It's all work on the court and walking. Walking the dog helps. That probably gets me a couple thousand a day, but I am at 92 miles for the month with 4 days to go. So I've never hit 100. I've hit 100 before running, but never just simply walking. So walking has become a way for me to listen to my podcast, make phone calls, clear my head little bit, think about work, think about stuff going on. And I've always been anti-walk, but I think I'm starting to get it as long as it's at a decent pace. So I'll start running again in November. That's when my next half marathon is. Or sorry, that's when training starts. So anyway, that's my goals. That's my random stuff. Few things here on the tennis side. Pretty short one today. So I mentioned on my last episode with Katie, and if you haven't listened to Katie and Spencer, please turn this off and go listen to those two. It's far more interesting than just me. Really interesting people, great stories, a lot of fun, and they should both have their own shows. It'd be far better than mine. They're way more entertaining and smarter and younger and wiser. So go listen to those. Hit stop right now. Go listen to them because those are great. I mentioned with Katie what abracadabra means, and I don't know. I read it in a book. I read a lot, but basically I googled it, and abracadabra means basically in some other language. It sort of means I create as I speak, or I will create as I speak, and that hit me pretty good because I've mentioned on this podcast many times that I've always been concerned that I'm a fraud, that I really don't know what I'm talking about or I'm doing it differently than other coaches. And I've always questioned it, probably always will, because my current path, and has been for many years, is sort of creating things based on who's standing in front of me and what they need and who they are and what their attitude is and what their mental health is and where they're currently at, where those students are, what the vibe of the group is. And sometimes, and my current students at the WAC probably have figured this out, sometimes I just start talking and I see where it goes. And as I'm talking, I start to see drills and things set up and what the scoring system might be and where this path is going to take us. And I always feel like, oh, these other coaches, they're so much better than me. They walk out and they've got all these plans and they know what they're talking about. And I feel like I'm just telling stories and sort of hoping I get somewhere that is productive for my clients. And then I heard this abracadabra and what it means, and I feel better about myself. I might know what I'm doing. It's been over 30 years since I've been doing this kind of job, but I feel actually a little bit better at it. And abracadabra came from the magicians who were doing their tricks, but if you watch them, they've got other things. They're speaking, they're telling stories, they've got other things going on to distract you from what the actual trick is so you don't see things happen. And I think some of mine is, I mentioned the word fraud. I might be using magic and words to hide my lack of skill. But my style has become about storytelling and things that happen in my life and other people's lives to create things that can be remembered versus do this, do that, do that. It's a story. And I think if you need to find yourself a coach, for those of you that aren't with me, that has that ability. And I do think it comes with experience. I'm the older guy now on our staff. Knowing what you're good at. I've talked a lot about on the court about do what you do well. What I do well is making stuff up, and hopefully it's valid. But that's what abracadabra means. So if you're one of those people that feels like they need to just start, take that first step, do it. It's okay. If you're a young coach or any coach and you're struggling with what to do with your groups, just start talking. Tell a story and see if that takes you down a path, because I think it probably will. But I am a fraud. If you're listening to this, please stop spending your money on me, because I clearly don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a moldy shower curtain hotel in Fort Wayne, Indiana on a Friday night. If I was a real coach, I'd be somewhere coaching somebody. Moving on. So my books, I read a lot of books. The one I'm on now is Mike Tyson's book. He didn't write it, but it's called Baddest Man, The Making of Mike Tyson. And I guess wherever you stand on Mike Tyson, he definitely has a personal history of some pretty evil, bad things in his life. But I also believe in a little bit of redemption. And reading this book definitely gives you a different perspective on why he did some of the things he did and what could have made him. And one of the things that I've been using on the court, and I've kind of always used, is when he was 13 years old, he was hypnotized by his coach, a guy named Cus D'Amato, famous old trainer. They took him to a hypnotist and they hypnotized him. And after he was under, the hypnotist would leave and the trainers would come in and they would start telling him things, violent things, how to hurt, how to kill, telling his mind like all about negative and power and hate and all these things that if you're a 13-year-old and you wake up out of that hypnosis, these are in your head, you're going to have some problems. He grew up in a terrible situation. He was a criminal. He was a fighter. And a lot of it, he had to survive, to get food, to get money, to not get killed. He had to become a fighter. But one of the things they taught him under hypnosis and then through all his training was throw every punch with bad intentions. And I thought that was really great. And, I'm not a real politically correct person. So bad intentions to me on a tennis court means something different than it does in a fight. Bad intentions, he talks about how he wanted his punches to push their nose to the back of their brain. That's pretty bad. But that's what fighters do. I'm not upset about that. But in tennis, bad intentions mean good intentions, or I've been using the term any intention. Throw every punch with a purpose. Throw every swing with an intention, not just randomly swinging. So if you don't like the word bad, switch it out, get rid of it, and just throw every punch, make every swing with an intention. Have a purpose. Throw every punch with a winning intention or a defensive intention, whatever it could be. So I've been doing some things on the court with offense, defense, neutral, knowing what you are. And once you know that, your shot selection's easy. So for instance, if you're on defense, you know you're on defense. How do I explain it? Picture a drop-down menu. You click defense, it drops down a list of things you can do from there. And on defense, what can you do? You can lob, you can hit slow, you can drop shot, you can hit down the middle, you can hit it right at them. There's your short list. If you click offense, it drops down. Now you've got more. I can hit it harder. I can be more aggressive. I can attack. I can do top spins. I can do more things, right? And maybe I'm going to the net. Neutral, whole big drop down menu. If you know what you are, there's your intention. So I call defense. I know I have these three things. I can lob. I can hit one down the center. Maybe I hit a drop shot, right? That's it. But if I call defense and I choose an offensive shot, I've made a mistake. But throwing every punch with intentions, bad, good, something, I think is super important when you're on the tennis court, is just don't swing randomly. Too many people, here comes the ball, I'm going to hit it. Sure hope something good happens. Well, that's not the case. So start being intentional with every swing you take. Moving on to Yoda. I was having a text conversation with a friend of mine at the club, John, and we talk a lot about the mental side of things. And he's struggling a bit with the competition and finding consistency, being able to consistently do the same thing, and a little bit of concern about what if it doesn't work and winning and that kind of stuff. So, for whatever reason, I Googled Yoda from Star Wars, Yoda sayings, because I sort of remembered something that we were discussing that Yoda might have said in the Star Wars movie. So I found two that I think you can think about and are valid to what I coach. First one is train yourself to get rid of everything you fear to lose. I don't have a Yoda voice. I thought about it, but I can't do it. So I'm not going to try it. I'm not good at accents, except for Harry Potter. So train yourself to get rid of everything that you fear to lose. If you think about that, it's learning to eliminate all that fear you have of what could happen if you don't execute. Right? I lose the match. My team loses because of me. We don't go on to the next round. We don't go to the state tournament. We don't go to nationals in Arizona. It's talking about figuring out a way to get rid of all that. You don't care about what you're worried about losing. You just execute the way you're taught to. The other one was super easy. Control, you must learn control. I don't really have to explain that, right? That's huge. So he's talking to Luke when he's learning the Force and he doesn't have that ability yet to control it. So I thought that's a great one. I think you could probably teach an entire tennis course on Yoda quotes and sayings. Just Google it, find one you like. There's tons of them that actually apply. Yoda was a pretty smart dude. Wonder if he's any good at tennis. Probably pickleball since he's small and quick and could really handle pickleball. Last one. So I've talked before. One of my favorite shows is Parks and Recreation. You know, I like The Office, that kind of show. Anything dumb and goofy but smart. And I've talked about my one of my favorite characters, Ron Swanson. I mentioned previously one of my favorite quotes I use on the court a lot is I'd rather whole ass one thing than half ass two. And we've talked about that's decision making. Pick something, commit to it, do it, instead of sort of being in between and doing two things poorly. Pick one thing and get after it. I was watching another episode, and this one is blueprints for the future are a fool's errand. And that's a little bit of how I approach when you're playing a match, that you can have ideas. I think blueprints are different. Blueprints are in writing, official. They look cool. They're on a big giant piece of paper. They are set in stone. This is what we're doing. This is the building we're building, right? Tennis can't have that. You can have ideas, but if you are trying to map out exactly, precisely what's going to happen, you're going to fail because there's too many variables of the opponent. They might change. They might hit a ball they didn't hit last time you played them that comes in faster, slower, spinnier. Is spinnier a word? I'm going to say it is. Higher. They got coached up. They've played you the second time and they play a completely different way. So you had one way of doing it and now that's got to change. So get rid of thinking you know what's going to happen and look at the ball. Where's it at? Where's your opponent? And react to that. I've talked a lot about being a good cat. Same kind of thing. My cats, they sleep a lot. They can be fast asleep downstairs, one on the couch, Pumpkin in his perch. They're asleep. You come downstairs and you open that bag of treats, boom, they're up. They go from zero to jumping on the ping pong table to their snack spot and crazy, right? But they're not always crazy. They're mostly sleeping. They're not always going, right? They wait until something is asked of them or a noise or something triggers them that it's freaking snack time. Let's go, right? So I think those are things, all three of those things are kind of the same, but have ideas of what may happen, but you cannot put them on blueprints on paper because it's going to change. Many years ago, 7 or 8, I wasn't even doing this podcast yet. I wish I had been. Some of you know, I was really close to getting a club built. It took a long time. We had blueprints, and it was pretty cool to see blueprints of a club that you helped design and were going to be in. We got close. It didn't work. I failed. Did my best. Probably better it didn't happen, but we had blueprints. And those blueprints changed every single time we met. Every time. That club looked nothing like it did the first blueprints we got, because it's always changing. And that we had land, different properties, different ideas, money, it all changed. We never stuck with that first one, but we still had the grand idea of what we wanted it to be. So make sure you don't write that stuff down. It's you've got to be able to react to that ball better and your opponents and all those types of things. That's all I got. I am live from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Jaws is on right now. I've got it on mute, but I'm going to watch Jaws. I might eat a donut because I got one at the store for a late night snack. And I'll be teaching my pickleball course in the morning. As usual, thanks for listening. You can watch this one on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And I will see y'all later. That's episode 94. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.